Hi folks, this is Glenn B. from bullseyesboomers.blogspot.com. What you see in front of you here is my Glock 17 semi-automatic pistol. I'm going to check and make sure that it's unloaded. There's no ammo in the chamber. There's no source of ammo in the magazine well. It's empty. This is a fully loaded magazine, or at least 9 rounds out of 10. I don't think I could get all 10 of them into it. It's a brand new magazine. It's loaded with dummy rounds. As you can see, the top round is a snap cap, red body, see-through plastic, brass base. The round under it, I think you can see that, is a orange plastic round, both totally incapable of firing. It's that type of dummy round right there, and there may be 1 or 2 other rounds mixed in. I have full metal rounds like this. It's got a full metal jacket bolt seated in it. It's got a case that's painted or anodized black, and there's no primer, there's no powder. It's impossible to fire any of the rounds that are in this magazine. What I want to show you today are 3 different ways to allow the slide to go forward to load your gun, and one particular way, actually 2 ways that I'll unload a gun or rack the slide to unload a gun. It's all pretty much connected, and these work at the range. All the different methods I'm going to show you work at the range. They work while you're plinking, they work if you're out hunting, and they'll work in a self-defense situation. However, in a self-defense situation, one way that I'm going to show you to rack the slide to load the gun is, in my estimation, much better than the other 2 ways. Now, let's get going. I'm going to load this up with the dummy rounds. Okay, we'll say we're in a self-defense situation. We've been shooting. Bang, 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 click. What? Holy cow. Tap, rack, re-engage. Bang, bang, bang. For some reason, it went click. Tap, rack, re-engage. Okay, another thing, you can try that. Another thing that can happen is that your slide locks back because the magazine is empty. The follower pushed up against the slide release or slide catch, whatever you want to call it. It's normally called a slide release by most gun manufacturers. It locks the slide in place. Okay, what do you do now? You drop the empty magazine, you pull a new magazine out of your magazine pouch, you reload, and a lot of people do this. Remember, you're in a combat situation. It's fine to do this if you want to, if you can do it. But let me tell you something. It's not as good as the other 2 methods I'm about to show you after this one. The reason it's not as good is because what you're doing here is called a fine motor skill. You're manipulating the slide release with your thumb. A small part of the side of your thumb, okay, a very small part of the side of your thumb right in here, is pressing against this and pushing it down. The slide release is very small. It's very close to the body on a Glock pistol, very close to the slide itself, very close to the grips and the frame. So close, in fact, that I guess so many people complained about it that Glock makes an extended version of this that sticks out further. It's easier to manipulate with your thumb. You get a more sure of a grip on it with your thumb. You can see my thumb slides right over it now that it's closed, of course. It's not pushing up, but this can also happen when the slide is locked back. It has been known to happen when your fingers are sweaty, if your fingers are bloody because you're in combat, if while you're reloading, say this magazine is empty, you drop the magazine, you're running along trying to reload a new magazine, you trip, you fall, you land in a dirty, muddy puddle. What are you going to do? You're going to get up, you're going to maybe shake the gun off, you're going to reload as quickly as you can, you're going to go like this, and there's mud on it. What happens? Your finger goes right over it like this. I did that 3 times. I put pretty good pressure on it 3 times. Finally it closed, and the gun loaded. Imagine yourself in a combat situation when your hands are going like this, or you got a grip on it and you're shaking like this. Okay, your heart is racing, your blood pressure is up, your adrenaline is flowing into your system like crazy, and you have some crazy dude screaming at you at the top of his lungs, "I'm going to kill you, mother effer." Things are just not the same as they are at the range. Trust me, using a fine motor skill, which is moving a small part of your body to manipulate or move something, as my thumb against this here. Pretty much all it's moving is my thumb. Okay, that's a fine motor skill. Using a fine motor skill in a stressful situation like that, it's not something I want to rely on. What I would rather rely on are gross motor skills. I'm going to load my mag as we go along. Gross motor skills involve the movement of many more parts of your body in order to get a job done. And I'm going to show you a way to reload now that's considered a gross motor skill, or at least it would be considered a moderate motor skill if there was such a term. I don't believe that in medical or biophysical terminology there is such a term as a moderate motor skill, but this may fall somewhere in between fine and gross motor skills, although I think for the most part it's considered, it would be considered a gross motor skill. You load the gun, you load the magazine well, you want to get the slide to go forward, you go like this. You grab it, you go. You slingshot the slide forward. It's a much more effective way of loading your gun, of assuring that you're going to get it loaded, your pistol, than going like this. And the reason that it's a gross motor skill is that you're moving your arm to get your hand up there. You're moving your hand. You're moving the digits on your hand. When you pull back, you're moving your arm. You're moving your fingers, your arm, your hand, your wrist, your elbow, your shoulders. It also affects the muscles in your chest. It's a gross motor skill. It affects a much larger part of your body. A much larger parts of your body are required to do that than to just do this. This, like I said, it's okay if you can get it done. If you don't get it done, it may get you killed. This, you're more likely to be able to do. Load this again. I'm going to show you one more way to let the slide go forward. I prefer this one in a combat situation. Watch what I'm doing. Okay, I just loaded the gun. I grabbed the slide around the top of the slide with basically, in essence, what's almost my whole hand. From about here up through here and around the other side. I've grabbed this gun, the slide, okay, to load. Watch something else that I'm doing when I do that. You can see the ejection port. I try not to cover the ejection port when I do that. There's a reason I try not to cover the ejection port. See what I just did? I got myself a double feed. I don't know if you can see it in there. This is the snap cap, and underneath it there's an orange round, one of the orange plastic ones. It's trying to go into the chamber because this one was just in there, and I tried to extract and eject it, and it didn't come out because my hand was blocking it. And there's a big problem with, let me clear this, there's a big problem with clearing a Glock with your hand over the ejection port. A potential problem anyway. Doesn't happen all the time, doesn't happen frequently. It is a rare occurrence as I understand, but it can happen, and from what I've heard it has happened, and it has resulted in injuries. And it can happen with any pistol like a Glock. I don't know if you can see it, but right in front of my pinky at an angle going down like that, there's a metal piece in there. That metal piece is sticking out like this at a little bit of an angle. It's bent in the way my finger is bent in right now. That is the ejector. The extractor claw is on this side of the slide. The extractor claw, in essence, grabs the spent round, the shell casing, and pulls it back like this. It would be just where my two fingers are, not my thumb. And it pulls it back out of the chamber. When it pulls it back far enough, the other side of the shell casing hits the ejector. When it hits the ejector, because the extractor claw is exerting a pull on one side, the ejector hits it, and the round cants like this, and it comes flying out of the weapon because it's still hooked up to the extractor claw, pulling it back even further. It comes out of the weapon, and it clears the weapon, or it should clear the weapon. What happens, though, when you load your weapon and you're firing, and you have a failure to fire, and you go like this, and you try to clear it. Well, when you're doing it at home, you could have taken the magazine out. You're trapping this round in here. Now you see, this time the round stayed all the way to the right. Last time it was much more centered. Sometimes it goes all the way to the left. The problem with it going all the way to the left is that when it goes all the way to the left like that, sometimes the ejector hits dead center or close to dead center of the round, close enough that it strikes the primer, indents the primer deep enough to cause the primer to fire, which causes the powder charge to go off. Remember, you've got your hand over it like this, and that's what caused that problem. You're going to get hurt. It may not be a catastrophic wound, but it's going to be a wound, and it's not something you need when you're involved in a combat situation. It's not something you need anytime. So, load it like this, unload it the same way, with your hand away from the ejection port. Let's see now, I think I described what the fine motor skills were, using one little part of your body to get something accomplished. Gross motor skills, where you're using much more of your body. I'm using my fingers, my hand, my thumb, my wrist, my forearm, my elbow, my bicep, my shoulders, and my chest muscles to load the gun like this. Much more reliable in a combat situation if you have the use of both of your hands. If you don't have the use of both of your hands, and you only have the one, and you come empty, the way you want to let the slide go forward is like this. If you don't have both of your hands, being able to use them both. That's why I recommend practicing the different ways to load and unload your pistol, the three different ways to allow your slide to go forward. It's better to practice them all, but the one that I practice the most is like this, to both allow the slide to go forward to load and to unload. I think it's the best overall way to do it, and I hope that helps you in your shooting. Thanks a lot. Have a good day. Glenn B. signing off.